So if you signed up for my live Zoom class where you get to do a custom fit on this jacket, bravo. If you signed up for the taped versions or the YouTube membership, bravo again, because now you're going to learn specific trade secrets of how to measure the pattern correctly, how to measure yourself correctly, how to get a custom fit on this pattern. And it will open up your world to other patterns, understanding these level lines that I'm going to be putting in, where to put them, and finding that on other patterns in the future. You're going to learn how to be a master fitter. So let's get started. So these are the essential tools you're going to still need for this part of the class. As we continue, I'll give you more. You need to have the Scotch tape, but it has to be the magic tape. It has to be that dull tape so you can write on it. You have to have highlighters, markers, pencil, your 2x18-inch ruler, tape measure without that end, guys, paper, scissors, your pattern, and extra pattern making paper for all the adjustments. And that came from the excess of this pattern. Next step. All right, guys, so let's back up a little bit. And I want to talk about the jacket pattern pieces because you guys aren't experts yet. You haven't been in the industry for 40 plus years and can look at a shape of a pattern and know exactly what it is. But I will mention, guys, this is level 3. So you do have to have some sewing, a good amount of sewing under your belt and some pattern making under your belt before you can really attempt doing something like this. But let's do the pattern pieces now. This is the front jacket. The front jacket has some components in it, and let me go over that. You have the shape of the lapel. This is a peak lapel, and it goes all the way down into a mitered hem that we have to adjust for. These little circles, guys, that is the cutting line or the slash line to actually get your collar in, and that is per color, per size. So each size has a different color and variation on the line, and with that comes all the components, such as the notches. These little slashes here and here are the notches. Per color, you're going to get the notch. That indicates what, guys? That indicates the seam allowance. So if it's showing that this is a 1/2 inch going this way and a 1/2 inch going this way, that is telling you that this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance that's going to be sewn for this jacket here and here. This is the shoulder line. Here is part of the armhole with the 1 notch that is indicated on all front armholes. This space over here is the dart all the way up. This has already been partly adjusted, so ignore that. But this is the bust point of where this dart ends. Here is the grain line. All the pieces have a grain line. We've got notches on the side to carry over to the next piece, which is now the side back of the jacket. And this piece sews into this piece and continues part of the armhole. Okay, guys, so now that we're getting into the back pieces, you can see now that we have double notches. So this is part of the panel of the side of the jacket. This is an outer garment, so it has more components and it also is looser. We've got the double notch here showing the back part of the armhole, double notches and single notches to show this is going to be sewn into another back piece. All back pieces have double notches. All front pieces have single notches. Again, they're color coded into the size of your particular size. We have the notches here for the seam allowance underneath the arm and the side notches. Now we have the center back. The center back meaning this is the center back of the jacket itself. It also has a vent in the back, and that's what this shape is. This is part of the neckline on the jacket. Here is the shoulder on the jacket, and there's a shoulder dart on this jacket. Most items have shoulder darts in the back as well. This is the remainder of the armhole. If you sew in all these pieces, you will get that full armhole shape. that goes all the way around. You have the double notches to meet the double notches of the side back. You've got the single notch here, so you don't have too many notches in the back, and a double notch here for the center back. This is a continuation of the mitered hem, which is going to be folded up. Now let's talk about one other thing, which is the facing. This is the front facing of the jacket. It has that same shape for the peak lapel. We've got part of the neckline here, part of a shoulder here, and this is where the actual facing cuts off and is rounded around the corner. Now the sleeve. The jacket has a two-part sleeve, common in all jackets. So here we go. This is the main jacket sleeve pattern. We've got the cap on the jacket. We have the notch for the cap. We have the notches for the seam allowance here, and the front notch on this part of the sleeve. We've got the notches over here, and then it goes into this mitered hem that turns into the placket here where the buttonholes and the buttons go. This is the other part of the sleeve that sews into this side of the sleeve. The notches then will match. This continues the armhole for the pattern itself. The double notch here for the back part of the sleeve, and this is the front part of the sleeve and the jacket sewing in. This is also the other part of that vent that goes on the jacket so that when it's sewn in, you will have room for your buttonholes and your buttons. Here is the collar. I chose to make it just one collar with two grain lines. You've got the bias cut on here, that's for the under collar, and then you have the straight grain for the upper collar. You've got the different sizes. This is the outside of the collar, and this is where it sews into the neckline with these notches and the shape of the collar to fit that peak lapel. Back facing, this goes in the back part of the jacket to clean the jacket because this is an unlined jacket, guys. Even lined jackets have a facing, but this is a large facing to help look good in the jacket when you're not going to have it lined. This is part of the shoulder seams and the notches indicating 1/2 inch with your gradiated size lines. Now we have the patch pocket. This line is the fold line that goes under in all pockets so that you can put your hand in. It is also graduated for the different sizes of the different patterns that you will need. Okay, understanding the jacket better so you know that what I just showed you makes sense on the actual jacket itself. Here is my unlined lapel jacket. This is the one that I used when I did the actual embroidery that was designed by me. With this embroidery maker that did it with me. And here is the beautiful designs that I have in the front as well as the back. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It was a process and it was cool. So here's the peak lapel, meaning this is a tuxedo type of lapel. It goes up and it meets the actual collar that's here. Here is the collar. Here is your back facing. And then inside, you're going to do this actual binding to finish off the inside of this jacket so that it looks nice. Okay, I also had covered shoulder pads that I put in here in the self fabric so that it all looks very, very neat. Here you can see where the facing goes into the jacket that stops at this particular point. Then you turn up your hem so that you have the hem here. Here is the vent. Let's look at the vent. This is the vent that is in the back of the jacket with that mitered edge here. And then you also have the sleeves. This is a two-part sleeve. Here is the seam. My students asked, why a two-part sleeve? Why do they use that? It's strategic for all jackets. It helps to go, if you can see, it's slightly curved. So this curvature here incorporates the fullness or gathering that would go for the elbow. And it also has the shape and the width that is necessary necessary to be an outer garment, but my sleeves on my jacket, guys, are super, super narrow. Here is also the placket area where you are going to be putting your buttons and your actual real buttonholes in there if you'd like, or you can make it faux. And there is the front of it. Also important to know for the fitting process that this is the buttons and the buttonholes. When you put the buttons on, and even before, you have to make an additional, you have to be aware when you're measuring that the center of this jacket is not at the edge, but the center of the jacket is where these buttons are actually sewn. So a good 3/4 or less of an inch inside, plus that 1/2 inch on the outside. Make for the fold over to accommodate the buttonholes and the buttons. Also, when you're measuring here, that's a whole nother story, guys. It opens up because that's opening of the lapel. These are things to think about and remember as we go step by step on the other steps. Okay, watch out for the next video where we're gonna put in these strategic horizontal lines for fitting, measuring, and adjusting.